Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Today we want to continue again with chapter 22, Al-Haj, pilgrimage. And the last ayah we stopped at, it was 59. And we talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He will have a huge and great reward for those who have migrated. And when they migrate, because they cannot establish their religion wherever they will live, and when they migrate to their new homes, to new land, they establish the religion, they practice the religion, they invite people to their religion. And we need to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order for you to invite others to talk about Islam, to talk about the truth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not gonna let you do that unless you have fulfilled certain requirements. You cannot put somebody in a company in a vice president position or a manager position unless that person went through a lot of tasks before. He has experience. He went through most of the roles of doing the other jobs, and then he can become a manager, because he will understand what other tasks or what other jobs the other employees will go through. So from there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants people who migrated can talk freely. For example, in America, for example, you can talk freely. There is no body who is trying to take you in jail, or there's no government oppression. You can talk freely about your religion, about your Islam. And this is the primary duty after a person become a real Muslim who abides with the Islamic laws and Islamic norms which the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has asked us or advised us to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that He will reward those people who migrated. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in verse number 60, that those people will have, and they will have certain group of people will start to fight them. They will start to calling them names. They will start to abuse them physically, verbally, different ways. And you see, then, for example, in the West, a lot of phobia, Islamophobia. People you see somebody who's covered, wearing her hijab, it's a big problem for them. You see somebody who's praying on the street, for example, it's a big problem. You see somebody who's reciting Quran or whatever, or his name here and there. So there is a lot of people will have, those people who are sincere Muslims, they will be tested. And those people, and there is going to be a group of people who will fight them. There is no doubt about it. And at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, this has already happened, and they kicked them out and they had to migrate to Medina. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, when the time comes for you to take your rights back, okay, do not exceed in oppression. Do not there is whoever retaliation. So when you retaliate, you have to retaliate in equivalence to the injury you have received. So you don't go and kill, for example, women. You cannot go and kill children. You cannot do these heinous crimes which other armies throughout the world do. As a Muslim, you have rules of engagement. So you can, whatever happened to your property, but there are certain things, even if they were committed against you, you cannot do. Like if they killed your women, they killed your children, you cannot go and kill their children or women. This is not Islam. Islam has its own rules of engagement. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that you just have to retaliate in a way which is equivalence to what have been done to you. ثم بغي عليه. Indeed, and also they might become, or they might attack you again. You will be wronged again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that He will give the Muslim, the believer, the upper hand. And we see from the Islamic history, Muslims were persecuted in Medina, in Mecca initially. They went to Medina. They didn't even have it peaceful. They thought when they go to Medina, everything is over. They will practice their religion, they will practice Islam. But that doesn't work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a testing room. So He has to test the Muslims and also has to put the proofs on the non-believers. How He has collected evidence that non-believers were committing injustices. They were aggressors. They were doing, the wrong things. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put them in hell. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, Inna Allah la'afuun ghafur. What does that mean? Means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will be merciful, forgiving for those people, because when you try to retaliate and you try to retaliate equally, sometimes one or few guys of the army or whatever, they commit some things the commander or the commander of chief of that army didn't ask them to do. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said He will forgive as far as these things will happen without the knowledge. They weren't knowledgeable about the rules, so on and so forth. So, Ghafoor, and then He is forgiven. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever pardoning and all forgiving. And also, it's another message for those who commit injustices, for those who fight against Muslims, for those who do taking their properties, killing them, torture them, abuse them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you stop what you're doing and you embrace Islam, you believe in Muhammad alayhi salam at this time, and also at when these ayat were revealed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you and you will be accepted to His paradise. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 61, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يُولِجُ اللَّيْلَ فِي النَّهَارِ وَيُولِجُ النَّهَارَ فِي اللَّيْلِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make a turn here, talking about the night and the day. And night and day and night. What is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that after there is light, daylight, there is nighttime. And after there is nighttime, there is daytime. What that mean? It means that these days are interchangeable. One day, you are a superior. Next day, you are the victim. And so on and so forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending a message to the Muslims at that time, Muslims of our time, saying that the days will pass. The days are interchangeable. Today, you live in layl. Today you think you are in darkness, means everything is going wrong, means you are persecuted, means you have fear, means you have no money, means you have no homes, means everything being taken away from you. That's dark for you. Tomorrow it will be light. And we saw that Muslims at that time, they went from Mecca to Medina, they had nothing. Everything was taken away from them. Then after that, what happened? In the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, what happened? There was a huge Muslim expansion throughout that Middle East. There were Muslims that were very rich at that time. So much money, so much wealth, so much. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said these days are interchangeable. يُولِجِ اللَّيْلِ فِي النَّهَارِ وَيُولِجِ النَّهَارِ. And also, you can make that day, النهار, the daylight, going going to the longest period of time, if you are abide with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laws, if you will become obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you fulfill His message, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will torture you? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. But this is the problem. Once people at that time and that age, and after the Prophet ﷺ demise, and after Umar's demise, and after all these Sahaba demise, what happened? Muslims will try to fight each other. For what? Power. For what? Money. For what? Ego. Authority. And that's why the destruction in that started. Each group fight the other group for power, for kingship. And then they become so weak. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. Allah Sami'un Basir means He will respond to whoever call Him. Ya Allah, change my situation. Ya Allah, change the situation of the Muslims. So on and so forth. Allah have hearing that. And Allah sees that, and Basir sees it. And He will give all the time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward those who fear Him. Those who are abiding with His laws, abiding with His regulations, abiding with His bylaws, abiding with His constitution, and try to fulfill it, try to act upon it. But if you are in that Islam as an amateur, or you don't want to practice it, or you're going to get nothing. The whole idea about Islam is to practice it. The whole idea is to practice it, to do the things which Allah asks us to do. And the main thing also, after you do those things, you have to have in your transactions with others, you have to be honest, you have to be trustworthy, you have to be sincere, you have to be, everything before comes out of your mouth, you think about it. This is very important. And this is Islam. This is one the character of the Islamic character. Well, when you do an action, you know that your kids are looking, are watching. So you have to be an example. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth. And this is an indication to those people who are looking for superiority, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to establish Islam on earth. They're looking to winning or victory for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're looking for the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not seeking anything for themselves, because they know they're going to be rewarded from the King of the heavens and earth. But they're looking to establish Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laws, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's regulations on earth. Why? Because it's the haqq, it is the truth. وَأَنَّ مَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ, and everything and anything else they're inviting others to follow, it is what? It is the falsehood. Homosexuality, feminism, you have nakedness, you have porn, you have adultery, you have so many ills. You have drugs, you have alcohol, you have gambling. You have so many things are taking people's mind, are taking people's ability to think and comprehend and to see why they are here for away. And then the person in 1 day or 2 days or a week or how many days, it dropped dead. And he didn't even establish and know why he's here for. So here, anything else which the big devils around us trying to take you away from, this is a falsehood. Trying to take you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, falsehood. Trying to take you away from the prayers, falsehood. Trying to take you away from Islam, falsehood, trying to make you and make it appear like it's okay to have no covering, to be naked, to be all these things, to steal, to lie, to take the rights of your brothers and sisters or whoever. This is all falsehood. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْكَبِيرُ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the most high. And He is the greatest. What does that mean? It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will establish His rules on earth, regardless. Regardless. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the winner. Regardless. Who will fight? Allah will send a group of people, a group of Muslims who knows the religion, who knows Islam, who will do anything for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They already committed to Allah. They have the intellect, they have the wisdom, they understand the truth of this religion, they understand the wisdom behind the laws of this religion, and they will establish the kingdom of God on earth. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين.